everybody, how's it going? This is Danny, the Wicked Awesome Gardener, and I'm just here kind of feeling a little hot mess express because I wasn't expecting to be shooting a video tonight. I'm just potting up some tomatoes here, getting things ready, a few more weeks, and we're gonna have tomatoes outdoors, all that wonderful stuff. I can't wait. But I did hear that Liz Zorab over at Byther Farm is opening up a collab, so I figured I would jump in because I had so much fun running my own collab with help from Leanne at Mennonite Farmhouse last week. The 5 musts and never agains, the 5 things that we will always grow in our garden and the 5 things we will never grow again. Now Liz took this to another level and went with 10 vegetables that she absolutely must have if she could have nothing else. So if you couldn't grow anything but 10 vegetables in your garden, what would it be? And she didn't do just a generalization like tomatoes, eggplants, peppers. She took it to a specific level and even talked about specific cultivars that she just must have. So I figured, let's take that a step forward from my collab and jump in on this because that just feels like the next natural progression. So don't forget to go check out Liz Zorab, Byther Farm. There's going to be a link down in my description, and I'm going to just jump right in onto my 10, if I could grow nothing else, vegetables. First up, you know it's going to be a tomato. There is always going to be a tomato in my garden, and if I could only have one tomato to rule them all, it's the pink Brandywine. And then again, they could change. I am growing a lot of new tomatoes this year. I am growing the gold medal this year from seed instead of picking up a start. So who knows, gold medal might overtake it, but pink Brandywine is just such a large, fleshy tomato with a lot of really great flavor. It's my favorite. I've been growing these from my own saved seed for a couple of years now, from the original pink Brandywines that a neighbor gave me that were just massive tomatoes and so tasty. So I will always have to have a pink Brandywine tomato in my garden. Next up is my spring favorite, and I'm a little sad right now that I'm so behind in my gardening this year because it's going to really curtail my harvest period for sugar snap peas. And now I know a lot of people, they don't eat the pods. They say you're not supposed to eat the pods. It's just for the peas. I don't care. I eat the whole thing. Snow pea, sugar snap pea, whatever it is, shelling pea, I just grab them while they're young and tender and I have to eat them. Very rarely do my sugar snaps actually even make it in the house. Those are garden snacks while I'm doing other things. Number 3 on my list has to be kale, and not just any kale. It's got to be curly kale. My favorite at the moment is Winterborn or just a basic curled blue Scotch curly kale, whatever it is. Any sort of curly kale. It's great to just chop up and put into a salad and add a little bit of different texture. Throw it into some soups and just wilt it right in. But also kale chips. And I know a lot of you out there are going, oh, kale chips. No, kale chips. Little bit of olive oil, a little bit of salt, crisp them up in the oven really nice. I could eat those all year long, all day, every day. Kale chips, give me all the kale chips. I will even go so far as to extend my season by growing them through the summer using shade cloth and growing them in the early spring and as late into the winter as I can by using a low tunnel. Number 4 on my list is a staple for me, a standard Kennebec white potato. This is just easy peasy, throw it in the ground, gives me nice large potatoes every time. Good for boiling, mashing, roasting, whatever you're doing with them. The Kennebec potato is going to be great. So it always gives me great production, and that's absolutely a must-have for me, is lots of potatoes. Number 5 on my list is the Royal Burgundy bush bean. Not only was it very flavorful and just tender and very prolific, it produced a lot of beans for me. It also just looks really cool. It has a gorgeous, gorgeous purple color, and if you know me, you know that my heart goes to the things that are purple. So I'm actually growing 2 purple potatoes this year. There's also the eggplants, the purple potted snap peas. if it's purple, I've got to try to grow it in my garden. But also, these particular beans were very delicious. The sad thing is they do lose their color when you cook them. They fade to green, but they still taste great. Number 6 on my list, cucumbers. And I don't quite have a specific one for sure yet because I haven't really tried enough of the small pickling cucumbers. But I do know that if I'm going to grow a large cucumber, it's going to be Marketmore. The great thing I've noticed about the Marketmore is that it can grow very, very large without that like bitterness that cucumbers often get when they do get too big. So you can get a lot of production out of them because they do produce like crazy, and they're also very, very big. I would actually be known sometimes to just grab one on my way out the door and like snack on it in the car on my way to work. I'm a weird person. We know this. We'll move on. Number 7, radishes. And I don't have a specific kind for this yet because I'm still kind of testing out different varieties, but I do know that some of my favorite radishes so far are Cherry Belle and Champion. Now, I don't grow radishes typically for the bulb. I will grow some and slice them up fresh in salads or to roast them, things like that. But what I love best about radishes is letting them go to seed and then picking those delicious little seed pods. They do taste like a radish, but they are crunchy and juicy like a green bean. And they are just really great to snack on in the garden, but also to take out and pop on some salad. And it just adds a really delightful crunch. Sometimes without as much of a bite as radishes can sometimes get. So they are very, very good. And I suggest that you try letting some of your radishes grow to seed. Number 8, I have to have peppers. And not hot peppers, but sweet peppers. I know there are so many hot pepper fanatics out there. I'm not such a huge spicy fan, but if I don't have a really good green or red bell pepper in my garden, it will just drive me bananas. I love to go out and just snack on a nice green, fresh bell pepper out there in the garden. I'll just pick it and eat it like an apple. And then letting them ripen to that beautiful, sweet red pepper taste. So I have to have the California Wonder in my garden every year. I do want to try next year growing King of the North because those are supposed to be very large, very sweet peppers. So next year I will try those out, but for now, California Wonder is the king in this northern garden. Number 9, Rosa Bianca eggplant. This is my favorite eggplant. Not that I've tried all the eggplants, I've had 4 or 5. But Rosa Bianca is just so delicious and creamy. And not only is it tasty, it is beautiful. I always tell people that eggplant could be considered an ornamental plant that also gives you food. An easy way to sneak some veggie gardening into those HOAs. But really, it is a beautiful plant. These big, broad leaves, sometimes they're fuzzy, the beautiful purple flowers. And the fruit of the Rosa Bianca itself is just gorgeous. It opens up, white with these streaks of bright purple. Beautiful. And so, so delicious. So I always have to have Rosa Bianca eggplant in my garden. Now, last but not least, is an absolute favorite of mine. It is a must-have. I grew it for the first time this last year, and I'll tell you, it blew my mind and made such an impression that I will always have this in my garden. And for those of you who watch my channel will not be surprised to hear me say angel hair spaghetti squash. Now, I like regular spaghetti squash just fine, but I find that each vine only produces a couple of squash, and they are this big. They are the size of my head, and I'm the only one in my house who eats spaghetti squash. My kids don't like it, and I can't handle a whole spaghetti squash on my own for dinner. So angel hair is a hybrid variety, and they are smaller, sort of personal-sized squashes that just weigh 1 or 2 pounds a piece. And it's really great that I can just slice that open, and that makes one meal for me. Or if I have somebody over for dinner who happens to like it, it makes a side dish for each of us. So it's a really great plant, and it's so productive. I had one plant and I probably got something like 10 to 12 squash from it. So it definitely, for the space it takes up, for the size of the fruit, it's just hands down the winner for me. It's my number one must-have. Well, I would say it's my absolute hands down number one plant that I always have to have. If I could grow nothing else in my garden, I would grow this. But that would be a lie, because you know what? We'll take it right back to number one with that pink Brandywine tomato. I can't not have a tomato, guys. It's just, that's gotta always be the top dog. But right behind it, angel hair spaghetti squash. All right, guys, that's it for me. Don't forget to go watch the original video by Liz Zorab at Byther Farm and check out the other great channels that are in this playlist. I'm so excited to see what their 10 absolute must-haves, if they couldn't grow anything else, vegetables for their gardens. And I will see you in our next video when we grow some more wicked awesome food from yard to table. Bye-bye.